Good morning and a warm welcome to you wherever it is you're joining us from around the world. This is Enterprise Weekend on Enterprise Television. I am Henry Ikwibike. And just before we get to our newspaper review segment today, and we would, of course, ask you to please do visit our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com and also like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms, also at Enterprise TV 7. After our newspaper reviews today, we would also be heading to our main conversation for today also. With me in the studios to do justice and peruse through our newspaper headlines is Barrister Evans Ufeli, a barrister at law and also a public affairs commentator. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So quickly, let's start off our newspaper headlines today. And the first daily is coming from a Saturday Punch newspaper. The big story here says farmers predict worsening food crisis, blame fuel subsidy removal and insecurity. And the writer to that story says, ask consumers to brace for more price hikes, warn government against food importation. And the sub-writer says the federal government unveils a revised national policy on food safety, promises food abundance. On the top strip of the same newspaper, minimum wage, the federal government proposes 62,000. Governors want 57,000 naira instead. And on the bottom strip of the same newspaper, federal government spent 697 billion naira on revenue collection in 11 months. And also we have policemen abandon stop and search duties, turn roadblocks into collection centers. And that's coming from Inspector General of Police. Let's talk about this issue. It's a burning one. I think it's very important that we talk about this. Earlier, a couple of days back, you had said that concerning the minimum wage,
Yes.
that the NLC shot itself, by signing or appending to what seized the strike. And you did say 61,000 naira could be anything above 60,000 naira.
Yes.
And here we have it authoritatively that the federal government is proposing 62,000 naira. How do you see this?
So
knowing
you
that
see,
you predicted it, of course.
Yes, you see, because the way the strike was called off, it was called off in a way that Labour had not even gotten a grip of the situation. It was just the federal government was just a little threatened, and they saw the losses that occurred within 24 hours, and they were ready to come out and go the whole hog. But instead of Labour to keep at it, they relaxed the strike and yield to the fact that the government said we pay above 60,000. Now they're offering 62,000. Labour, had said they wanted 490 something thousand.
They are stepping it down to 290 something.
200 and something thousand. Now, after they have done some cost benefit analysis, looking at the family of 4 and what it will take to feed per week, cumulatively per month and all that it should be at 290, 90 plus. But now you have the federal government saying you're going to pay 62,000. I sense that it's going to be within that 60,000 range. Okay, I sense that, and that is not realistic.
Which is not realistic?
The 62,000.
Okay.
It's not realistic now because what it will cost, let's say for a family of 4 per distance, almost 100 plus. So when you have 62,000, it's not really much different from the 30,000 naira you already have, because the cost of living did not jump to 100%. If the cost of living had jumped to 100%, adding 30,000 again to 30,000 to make it 60 or 62 would have been commensurate with where the cost of living has risen to. But the cost of living rose to over 300%. I mean, by virtue of the removal of subsidy, which we are now hearing that they are paying subsidy again. Okay. So that disruption, that impulsive disruption of the lives of the people, the federal government is supposed to recompense for it. And that is the essence of this negotiation with Labour. So I had thought that they would raise it to 100,000. Even when I made that statement somewhere, someone said that the 100,000, are you sure that 100,000 will be enough? I said, well, there's no amount of money that's enough, but the federal government should not be shooting at 62,000. And then there's another discordant tune again from the Governors Forum. No. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, so they're actually proposing for 57,000.
For 57,000. But there's a governor in this country that, in Edo State, that already has approved 70,000 for workers. Okay. So why would the governors be a party to that reduction? We are reducing it when Labour have not even agreed to 62,000. So I think this is not, it's not fair on Labour. It's not fair on them, because this meeting and this agitation is not for the citizens of the entire country. If it were to be that the entire country, the whole citizens are employed by the government, like you have in the communist states, and then the whole citizens of the country are the one asking for that amount, then you would say, okay, given that the population is much, okay, let it be at 60, 62. But this one, the people demanding for that money, they are not up to 1% of our number. And they are demanding for that money, looking at the lifestyle of those who are leading them, looking at the fact that they buy brand new cars for themselves. They give themselves a lot of allowances, including hardship allowance, including newspaper allowance and all that. The workers don't get that. So if it's in the same country, the same government, and you have economic injustice, some people are entitled to some kind of wages, others are entitled to other kind of wages. When you have the same laws in the country, there will be agitation, definitely. So Labour will take a decision what they want to do. Now that they say 62, whether they want to go back to the strike or they want to accept that in good faith. Whichever it is, they should communicate to us this week, because they had a week to brainstorm on this, and the week is almost over. So they will have to communicate to the public as to what they intend to do next.
But do you see another strike?
I think most likely.
But it won't be as grievous as the last one.
Yeah, there are some, concern about switching off the national grid. That one is actually very, very critical.
But that was what made the federal government in the first place see reasons to come to the table.
That was what compelled them now, when the entire country was in darkness. And because if they were to repair, there are some things you can still do from some offices online and all that, but they shut down. You understand? Shutting down will mean that they close, all the ministries cannot function and all that. So, and if they have to function with diesel. The cost of diesel is high. Even if they have to use fuel, the cost of fuel is high because subsidy is gone. So it's a whole lot for us. But I think the president should step in and look at this thing, because he gave it to the minister for, which of the minister now? One of the ministers, Wale Edu, to look at work out the modalities. Is this the outcome of the modalities he worked out? This is the 2,000. 2,000
naira in addition.
2,000 naira addition. So I don't know why you should have 62,000. It should actually be more than that if you want to look at if you want to be realistic and look at the cost of things.
All right, so let's take a look at the big story here. Farmers predict a worsening food crisis, blame fuel subsidy removal and insecurity. But particularly the federal government are saying they are unveiling a revised national policy on food safety, promises food abundance. Is this the normal cliche information that we've seen coming from the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
No, there are signs already now that they want to start importing now, right? Certain food will be imported now, and the farmers are warning against it.
Yes, exactly.
Because for this short period, the farmers have made so much money.
They're smiling to the bank.
Yes, it's been their monopoly, their most desired monopoly. Is that, look at rice. I mean, the local rice, even though the people are still smuggling in from the back door, but you will not have a huge quantity that will displace what they are doing. Now, it's good that the federal government actually stopped the importation of those food and allow them to. But you see, they too, the farmers did not manage the opportunities proper. They were greedy. They made everything so high, such that because we thought that if the farmers here produce and will consume what we produce, the farmers will be rich and then the food will be cheap. That was the idea. But it didn't turn out that way. It turned out that if we import, we're going to get it cheaper. And now that the citizens are actually very, most of them are cash strapped, no disposable income. The little money they have, they want to use it to buy as much food as possible. So if a bag of rice is going for 80, 70,000, when we are the ones producing it, we're not paying duties to import it and all that. Within us, just because we are moving it maybe from the north to the south, then it will now be that we'll increase the price that way. If we have a foreign one that is going for 60,000, people will not buy that one going for 80,000. You understand?
Yeah.
So the farmers too did not be. You know why the farmers could not also manage it? Because there was no price control. There was no price regulation across.
But do you think it's possible to have price regulation when it's an autonomous business? You produce whatever it is you produce and sell at will. Who now places?
There's an institution in this country that regulates price. If it's a common goods, you understand. The only thing you would have said is, how do you regulate price with the cost of transportation?
Okay.
If I'm moving rice from Lagos to Ogun, I'll definitely pay lesser than the person moving it from Lagos to Port Harcourt.
Very true.
So even the one that is regulated, fuel that is regulated, which the circumstances, the natural workings of things have deregulated price. You don't buy fuel in Asaba. The price you buy it in Lagos. You don't, and that one is even a regimented market that is highly regulated by government. So you not talk about that which farmers, their input. They will check the cost of labor. They will check the cost of fertilizer. They will check the cost of transportation. They will check the cost of harvest and production. Labor in harvest and production. So by the time they put it together, they are selling at 80,000. You understand? In some of these places where we import food from, like rice, like Thailand and the rest of that, they use mechanized farming. So here is subsistence agriculture. You are peeling this thing with your hand. Yes, manual labor. So you may have to spend more doing that compared to the person who is mass producing. Maybe you and the yield also from there, because they use GMO. You understand? Genetically modified. So they
have more improved seed varieties.
Yes, more improved seed varieties, more yield per hectare of land as against us here. So they can afford to actually sell it a little bit below because they have more, they make turnover. Here, everything is manual. So those variables would actually affect price.
Very true. All right, so let's move on to our next daily. This coming from the Saturday Independent. And the big story here says, rising cost of medication. We are dying. Nigerians are grown. And the writer here says, give indigenous health research development priority. Professor Emeje set up intervention development fund in health sector and also integrate indigenous medical practitioners into conventional system. And that's coming from Dr. Issa. And on the top strip of the same newspaper, we have, despite an NWA 10.9 billion naira budget, no fewer than 17 people die on waterways every month. And that's an exclusive report done. And governors rejected 60,000 naira minimum wage and says it's not sustainable. And also, tribunal finds multi-choice 150 million naira over hike in subscription rate. And we disagree with CCPT ruling, says multi-choice. Let's talk more on the issue of course, it's like a transition of the last thing that we talked about, food crisis, food inefficiency and all. Now let's move that a bit to the cost of medication in Nigeria. Ailments are inevitable, and when one is blessed with that, if I might want to use that word, the rest is for you to get medication. But when such medications are not available or very expensive, you have no other choice than to look up to God. Now, at this point, what do you think could be the best solution Is it possible, just like a medical practitioner, Dr. Issa, is saying, integrate indigenous medical practitioners into conventional system? Does that make any sense in a digital world like ours?
It does make sense, because even in the West, the what they call it, tradomedical, that's what it's referring to.
Yes.
Those indigenous health practitioners actually have so many solutions. Yes, they have so many, but their solution is actually local. Most of them are not packaged for international best standard or practice, but content and the ability for those drugs to provide that which will actually come from the West, or orthodox drugs, they have actually good effects from those local angle. Because the truth is that this life is sustained by food and drugs. Food to eat when you are healthy enough, then drugs to take when you are ill. Okay, so the two of them go hand in hand, and that's why we have one institution, NAFDAC, that regulates it, food and drugs. Okay, whether it's processed food or whatever, it's food and drugs. It's important. Now, even if you are not going to bring them at the standard of orthodox medicine, bring them to the point where they are properly licensed, and you set up a research institute for scientists and medical lab scientists and scientists in the area of drug that we, evaluate those produce and certify them fit for consumption. You understand? We have many of them that have NAFDAC number, meaning they have gone through process. Yes. So we cannot just discard native medicine, especially now that the other one is very expensive. The before subsidy, this subsidy is gone regime. Antibiotics used to go for between 7,000 and 10,000. Okay, most of these antibiotics. After the subsidy, it went to between 32,000 to 38,000, 40,000. So it's high now. And we're talking about a society where people are not buoyant. The statistics we had in our program at the Middlemen talks about some time ago that over 90% of Nigerians don't have up to 500,000 naira in their accounts. These are citizens. For the Heritage Bank that had issues recently, they said over a huge chunk of them didn't have up to $350 in their accounts when you place it in another. So you see, this is not a society where the citizens are empowered. You understand? Where the citizens have disposable income. Then if you have a society like that, such societies should have its public health care system working effectively. It is not, okay, even in some Western countries, the citizens don't really have much in terms of raw cash, okay? But they have a system working. Health insurance, you have, they can have access to food even when they have no money. They have a credit facility. You understand? Access to credit. That you don't need to have 100% of the money before you can purchase a car or buy a house. Or you just, even 15% of it, you can have the mortgage system running. Okay? What is important is that they look at your income from where you work to where you want to get that particular house, and the quality of the house and the cost. If it is something you can offset within 25 years, they give it to you and you pay whatever you have. So that after 25 years, it becomes yours. But here, you pay your rent for 25 years, the money is gone. Okay? The next day you default, you are thrown out. So, society should be structured in ways that the citizens need not have too much cash or money in their hands, but the system put in place should be able to give them so much value that they may not even need so much money in their hands in the first place.
Very true.
So we need a system that will run that way. So on drugs, it is important. We have so many effective drugs, even the orthodox drugs that are made out of these herbs. Okay, many of them are made out of herbs and all that. They are very critical. We need to upscale that part so that people can have alternative medicine. They don't need to rely on just one.
Very true. All right, so lastly, let's move on to the Saturday Vanguard newspaper. And still on the minimum wage issue, negotiation hits another dead end. And also we have on the top strip of the same newspaper, held a promising new saliva test for early prostate cancer detection. Why we enjoy good relationship with adult workers, and that's coming from Obaseki. And still with Obedient Movement, Peter Obi is saying Obedient Movement not domiciled in any political party. On the top strip of the same newspaper, we have my first shocker as governor, and that's coming from the Reverend Father Alia. Vice Vance Ufeli, yes. You are a learned theologian.
Yes.
Reverend Father Alia is, I think, should be the second priest governing Benue State.
Yes.
Now, I want you to help us make sense of this. Do you think the study of the scriptures in any way has a way of influencing good leadership?
Well, it does if you have internalized, and it depends on the person who is leading. Yeah, ordinarily, the scripture has a lot of teachings on value system, on leadership, on morals and values, which ordinarily, if you go by it, you are supposed to be a practitioner of the aforementioned. Okay. But it is not a guarantee that anyone who professes to be a priest will actually apply that. It's not there's no guarantee, it's not iron cast that because this person is a priest, automatically he will be influenced by scripture and he will lead well.
But unfortunately, that is the toga this clergies have used to win votes, especially in Benue State particularly.
Yeah, during politics, people use anything. And anything available that's appealing to the people. People use so much infrastructure. People buy votes. People use religion. People use everything. During the campaign period, you see the politicians in all churches. I don't know that you've observed it. They visit, they call it courtesy visit. And you see them at the reading camp, you see them at big churches, because they know that the people believe in this, their clergy so much. So if their clergy say, vote this person, they will most likely do it. Or if their clergy say, look at all the candidates, decide who you want to vote for, they're most likely going to listen to their clergy because they believe that they hear from God. So, but people use this, but see, it's not a guarantee. If you make a pastor the president, or you make an imam the president, or a governor, it does not translate that you will have good governance, because leadership is different from whatever it is you are professing. Until you are able to guarantee that you can deliver, you have competency leadership-wise, you will, if you like, soak yourself in the scripture or the Quran, you will still not be able to lead well. We've seen it in the Bible. There are a lot of examples in the Bible of people who couldn't lead well. Okay, some of them led to a point and they fell off. They could not get into the promised land. Some of them highly used by God at some point, got drunk, and they had carnal knowledge of their own daughters. These are leaders in scriptures I'm talking about now. So, how much more in this world, this kind of society we have today? So it's not a guarantee anywhere. So what is required is that a leader must be able to take people from where they are to where they ought to be. A leader, if you are leading me and after 1 year, my life is not going forward, it's going backward, you are not leading me well. That is what it is. It does not matter how much excuse you give me. It does not matter how much you say about why you have not moved me from point A to point B. The truth is that you are failing already as a leader. That is what it is.
All right. So that's just about the time we have for our newspaper reviews today. And we'd love to promise you that Barrister Vance Ufeli will be right here with us to equally take us on our main conversation. When we return, Bill to create Olo State passes first reading in House of Representatives. And just to let you know that Chinyere Igwe-Odo will be joining us also for our main conversation. We'll be right back. Please don't go anywhere.